The UN Women and a coalition of women rights organizations launched a campaign #End Violence, Vote for Her campaign in the capital. The aim of the campaign is meant to canvass support for women candidates as well as end violence against women before, during and after the elections. Women's participation in politics and leadership continue to decline, and #Violence Vote for Her campaign is meant to promote the participation of women in politics. Women's rights organizations presented their solidarity messages during the launch of the campaign, the aim being to ensure that there is an increase in the number of women taking up the political and leadership space.
According to the Constitution, sections 17, 56 and 80 guarantee equal representation of women and men, including in politics. However, it's sad to note that government and political parties haven't followed through on this, and it's seen in the low numbers of women who are participating in the elections. We only have 70 MPs and one presidential candidate. We need people to understand that civil society is there to complement and provide oversight, but the sole responsibility remains on political parties and government to create a conducive environment for women to freely and actively participate as candidates and voters.
Women's participation in politics as voters and as candidates is seemingly regressing. You will note from the statistics for the candidates that filed successfully for nomination that we have 11% women candidates at National Assembly. We have 14% women candidates at local government level. We have one woman at presidential at the presidential election level. On the backdrop of the work that has been put to advance gender equality and gender equity in the political space, you will note that we have not seen gains. We have been regressing. You look at the statistics from last year's, the 2018 elections, and now you can see there is a big drop from over 20% in the last election to now a mere 11% in National Assembly, as I have said. And we are concerned and we are worried, and we believe that violence against women in elections is a major contributor to why women are shying away from the political space, from political participation, from participation in electoral processes. Our efforts at mobilizing women to participate as voters, to participate as candidates, are hindered by violence against women. Hence this campaign, which seeks to end violence against women in elections and in political processes.
We recognize that women's freedom and ability to participate in civil and political spaces without discrimination or repression are critical for the development and the consolidation of a democratic society based on accountability and transparency. We commit to continuing to stand by all women candidates and supporting their gender equality journey for a sustained peace, stability, and prosperity. We understand that this journey is not easy at all, but we commend your courage to take on this challenge. Together we can break down gender barriers and create for a fairer society for all.
The work on advancing gender equality is not translated into equal political representation and the participation of women in leadership positions. The trend is worrying, and the meeting raised awareness on the importance of including women in politics through voting for them in the upcoming elections.
We are fielding women-only observers in this coming election who will be focusing on women's issues. We are talking about all electoral processes that will be happening during voting. So if there are any women candidates that you know that will be participating in this coming election, we are encouraging you to tell them to contact us at Women's Coalition so that we work together as we have done in the previous election.
Women empowerment starts with your vote. This is our message to women. Women empowerment starts with your vote. It's also our message to the public. When you want to empower women, it starts with your vote.
Women face various forms of violence as they enter the realm of politics. Research has shown that violence is a major cause of the decline in women's participation in politics, and this therefore prompted the campaign #EndViolence, Vote for Her crusade.
What is violence against women? Our definition of violence against women in political life includes before, during, and post-elections. And this constitutes acts or threats of violence. These could be physical threats of physical violence, it could be sexual violence, it could be psychological harm or suffering. We have seen women being haunted on their social media platforms. We have seen women being defamed. We have seen women being dragged in the mud, and hence many women tend to retreat, because when the violence increases, women will tend to retreat to safety instead of fighting the violence blow for blow. And we believe that it's important that we take a stand against violence perpetrated against women, because as our Constitution guarantees in Section 56, for equal participation, for non-discrimination, violence against women militates against this gender equality that we aspire for is espoused in our Constitution.
Political violence remains one of the biggest stumbling blocks to women's political participation at local, intra and inter-party and national levels. It's 2 weeks until elections, and we call upon all stakeholders to respect the sanctity of life through ensuring that women are free from online violence, sexual harassment, torture, arbitrary arrest, and forced migration that may be caused by violence in the run-up to the elections.
What we have discovered as the church is that women are capable even to participate in leadership. But unfortunately, the political arena is not giving enough space for women to participate and showcase their gifts and talents, which is a worry for the church, because we also want women to participate. And we have experienced it in the church, where we have seen women pastors like myself being given a mandate to look after a congregation. And a congregation is a constituent on its own. And you will see how women are capable. It was of late when they came in to be pastors. But so far we have seen women doing a great job and competitively doing what men are doing.
Section 56 of the Constitution provides that all persons are equal before the law and have the right to equal protection and benefits.
We indeed need women to exercise their right to vote. We need women to exercise their right to stand for public office, to vote in secret, to freedom of expression, to freedom of opinion, to freedom of assembly without fear.
Firstly, WALPE would like to thank all the women who participated in the primary elections and were brave enough to stand against men despite the vote buying, and would also like to extend our congratulations to the women who won in the primaries and will be contesting as candidates on 23 August.
As WALPE have said, we are also encouraging them to vote for women. We are saying women, support women, and let's vote peacefully.
The UN Women is working tirelessly so that women take up political and leadership positions, and this is being done with the support of the media and civic organizations.
As UN Women, we are also carrying out a national survey on violence against women in elections, So this is a survey that will document the violence quantitatively and qualitatively. So it's a survey that will begin soon. As UN Women as well, in collaboration with the Zimbabwe Gender Commission, we carried out a program called Women Rise in Politics. It was a training and mentorship program for aspiring women candidates. In that program, we trained 319 women to contest in the elections. Of the 319 women, we've got 15 who are running for member of parliament, and we've got 44 who are running at local government level. And some of the work that we are doing is also we are supporting ZEG as well to implement its gender policy, and also working with the Ministry of Women Affairs to implement its decision-making strategy that they adopted this year. So those are some of the things that we are doing. And also we are going to start a big campaign in collaboration with the Zimbabwe Council of Churches, and it's called Zero Tolerance on Violence Against Women. We are going to be conducting 15 live theatre plays in 15 locations in 6 provinces. We are going to do engagements with the media. We are going to carry out media engagements.
Parliaments play a crucial role in advancing gender equality through representation of social diversity, holding the executive to account, drafting the relevant legislation, allocating adequate resources, and drawing attention to specific socio-economic issues. During the 9th Parliament, which ran between the period 2018 to 2023, the Parliament of Zimbabwe passed a total of 60 bills compared to 50 that were passed in the 8th Parliament.
Today we had a child rights reflective meeting being hosted by ZNCWC. Basically, we're reflecting on the progress that has been made so far through the 9th Parliament. So we were looking from where we're coming from, where we had gone so far, and where we are going, including the recommendation for the 10th Parliament.
During the meeting, we were putting in place some of the milestones that took place during the implementation of the 9th parliamentary session, whereby we were identifying some of the progress they made, some of the gaps, and mapping a way forward in terms of what is required to bridge all the gaps that were identified.
The 9th Parliament passed a number of legislation during its term. With this in mind, Zimbabwe National Council for the Welfare of Children held a meeting to reflect on the extent to which the various legislative frameworks and budgets passed in the 9th Parliament have gone in advancing children's rights.
The caucus was set up in March 2020, and it was the coming together of members of parliament, parliamentarians from across political divide, who had the like-minded, objective of ensuring that the welfare of children across the country is protected. I think as a caucus we have also been able to interact with children, mainly on the national budgeting, that children have been able to amplify their voices to the national budget itself. As a caucus, we have also been able to visit certain schools to see the conditions under which children have been learning. We have also been able to push bills in Parliament. When you look at the Marriages Act, which has an effect to children, it has also been enacted by members of Parliament. You look at the Labour Act, which has also a bearing to children. When you look at child labour, it has been passed by the 9th Parliament. You look at the Child Amendment Bill, it has been passed into law recently. And all these other bills that have something to do with children
You also have got the Education Act, which was enacted during the life of this parliament. It was in 2019, but it has got some very critical provisions, particularly for girls who in the past, if they were impregnated, would not be able to go back to school. Now there is a clear policy that they should not lose their education. They should be able to be reintegrated into the school system. And then for all children, the issue of corporal punishment, which has been found to be, in some instances you can call it a barbaric, because there are alternative ways to discipline children without having to use or crack the whip. So those are some of the issues we've dealt with in this parliament. We also have the Data Protection Act, which ensures that children are protected from, exposure to, harmful sites and so on. But more importantly, those who are engaged in child pornography are also dealt with in terms of the provisions of that act.
The Children's Rights Reflection meeting provided an opportunity for child rights organizations and key stakeholder engagement and participation for the benefit of children.
Today we have come here to reflect on the achievements that have been made by the 9th Parliament in as far as child rights issues are concerned.
Basically, the interaction was to do with reflections on what we have achieved as a child rights caucus. We come from different portfolio committees, but we share the same thinking in terms of the realization of our children's rights. And as a result, we've been working with civil society organizations, in particular the Southern African Parliamentary Support Trust and the Zimbabwe National Council for the Welfare of Children. And we're just reflecting on what we've achieved, what still needs to be done, and recommendations and the way forward to ensure that the foundation which has been laid in the 9th Parliament can be carried on in the 10th Parliament.
We should also have a specialized court for children's matters. Currently, many of the challenges that are bedeviling the courts are basically because of the fact that we do not have a specialized court. If we have a specialized court, just as the labor court, the commercial court, children's court will be finalized timeously. Children's rights will not be violated because we also have specialized personnel dealing with children's matters. And another recommendation that was given was that children's matters, when it comes to budgetary issues, should be well resourced. Why? Because when you look at children, they are clearly affected by lack of resources. Many of the line ministries that deal with children matters do not have adequate resources.
The meeting was also an opportunity for CSOs and various child rights actors to harvest advocacy results and measuring national progress in creating a positive policy environment for the fulfillment of child rights.
The bills that have been passed in Parliament, for example, the Child Amendment Bill, the Labour Act, the Marriages Act, and many other bills that have been passed in Parliament which have something to do with children affairs. I think we have been able to recruit more members in Parliament. I think we now have a membership of over 60 members of Parliament in the caucus. We also been able to come up with a constitution for the caucus during the period under review. We have also been able to establish a strategic plan for the caucus so that we concentrate the effort of the parliamentarians towards achieving, the rights of children.
Yeah, in particular, I'm going to talk about the Marriage Act. It's now an act of Parliament. When it comes to Parliament, it will be a bill. That one is very important because it deals with the issues of children who are being subjected to child marriages. And now, because of the enactment of the Act, an offence has been created whereby it's not just that the person who marries a child who is guilty of an offence, but everyone else who facilitates the process, starting from the parents or anyone who pretends to be solemnizing a marriage between an adult and a child is also liable to prosecution.
From my own perspective, I actually believe that this is the most progressive parliament that I've seen. Why? Because if we look at the number of the child protection laws that have been amended, there are many, and so many laws, child protection laws, are now in line with the Constitution.
The discussion also assisted in identifying gaps and challenges that continue to exist, hindering the fulfillment of child rights.
However, we still have got a challenge in the sense that because of lack of sensitization, because of lack of conscientization, we still have child marriages taking place, particularly in some areas where you've got certain religious sects, where you've got certain traditions and customs which are not consistent with the provisions of the Constitution, which has clearly set the age of marriage is 18.
The challenges that we have noted that the main issue is on implementation. We have good laws, very progressive, but implementation, there is a challenge. Why? Because if you look at the child justice system, there is delay in cases, children are being imprisoned, children are being placed in prison, regardless of the fact that there are various laws that speaks against that. And so many child rights violations are happening, and some of them are even being done by justice players or the duty bearers who are expected to protect children.
From the meeting, there were some recommendations that were put in place pertaining those acts and the policies which were put in place. Of course, they are there, but it seems as if on the ground nothing is being put in place. So we really feel that the government has to work together with the civil society in terms of identification of some of these gaps and be able to bridge the gaps in terms of implementation. So we have realized that there are some of the acts that are put in place, like the Education Amendment Act. Of course, it is progressive and it has got a lot in store. We really feel that child's rights issues are covered, but in terms of implementation and what is required, it seems as if there is nothing much is being done on the ground.
The meeting provided an advocacy action plan for implementation in the forthcoming parliament.
I think moving forward, we would want parliamentarians oriented to the functions of other parliamentary caucuses across the regions. For example, in Zambia, we would also want parliamentarians to visit any other country that has a child affairs ministry, so that they appreciate on how the rights of children are coordinated in different jurisdictions. We also would want to see proper coordination in as far as the community itself is concerned, which involves the church, traditional leadership, and government agencies, in as far as, protecting the rights of children is concerned.
From the meeting, basically, as a person who is coming from the child rights sector, there were some challenges that were noted, which included the fact that there are delays in completion of cases. And basically, among the things that were noted, that we are actually uploading the 9th Parliament for the progress that it has made so far, especially when it comes to amending various laws. So amongst some of the recommendations that were given, that justice players should be trained on child rights on itself. Why? Because the child rights sector is a specialized field, and we will realize that most duty players are not appraised of what really child rights entails. You realize that many magistrates deal with different matters, but when it comes to children's matters, they would not know how to handle such matters. So amongst some of the recommendation was that steps should be taken to train the duty bearers on what really is child rights, and also the fact that we should also have a specialized line ministry for children. Currently we have the Ministry of Women Affairs, we have the Ministry of Youth, but we do not have a specialized ministry for children. So basically, another recommendation that was given is that we should have a specialized ministry for children where all issues will be dealt with in that ministry?
We really feel that a lot has to be done in terms of engagement with the communities, in terms of engagement with the SDCs, and in terms of engagement with the government. What is it that is required? We really need to mobilize more funds, be it being domestic financing, or we have to have public and private sector engagements or partnership in terms of resource mobilization.
The Zimbabwe Council for the Welfare of Children held a review meeting to assess progress made by the 9th Parliament. The 9th Parliament was established with the aim of ensuring the rights of children are met through lobbying for legislation bills that are friendly for children.